So hi Anders,
Hey,
how is France?
France is locked down.
Lockdown.
So,
I should start this by saying, how is my favorite Danish person in France?
yeah, I'm not the only Dane in France, right? So
But
there
you're
could
the
be
only
other
Dane
guys
I
that are
know that
nice.
is in France.
I'm feeling really good, and I almost feel guilty, right? Because we're in such a mess right now. Um, but so I usually work from home, or I've worked a lot from home. So it's not a big change for me.
Yeah,
The big change is that I have my family.
yeah.
And that I sort of, we have sort of a family organization, and we're taking breaks and taking family time, which is great. So yeah, I almost feel a little bit guilty about being so happy in such a terrible time. Uh, and then it's probably because I'm able to sort of put the worries of the future away, and then
Yeah.
we'll see. There's not, we can't do any more than what we're doing, right?
But uh, this actually is an interesting side to the point you're making there is interesting. Just for full disclosure, I'm in the same situation. So if there are some kids that randomly walk into the camera, then that's it. But I've asked them to stay out. I've actually locked the door so they can't get in. But if you have some hard knocking, then so the reason, one of the things that you do when you have a situation like this, like I am I've been an agency person for years and years and years, and
Yeah.
for the first time I'm a freelancer and like kind of taking projects on. And what I notice is that when crisis like this happens, then the first people that are let go are the freelancers, and that's basically what it is. But I mean, the lingering question is, what do you do when you're a digital marketer and you can't market, or can you market? Like, what do you do?
It's crazy, isn't it? I mean, there are so many things changing all the time. I think, we've been in digital advertising for a long time. I think we're past that, but I think the first big step there is to say, okay, how do we pay the budgets when half your clients risk going down,
Yeah.
or at least cutting a lot of budget and being in all sorts of financial trouble? How do you actually secure what you have and what will stay? Yeah, I think that's the first step. Sort of really be very, very careful and not, and wonder what else could go wrong. Yeah, so everything doesn't ramble at the same time. So I think that's the first step, and then the second one is try to see where are things shifting. I mean, what is still active there? We talked about, I've been talking a lot about Amazon, and Amazon is a crazy objective to look through. Yeah, you're looking at the world from Amazon, and you see a lot of business disappear, and then you see a lot of new business actually grow and explode. I mean, all the masks. There's a lot of abuse on the masks that they sell online. I saw something this morning: 5 masks for $50. People are totally abusing of the algorithm. And so there's that part, and there's the delivery time, which is, I find it fascinating that I heard last week that they actually changed the algorithm because of the delivery. So the business optimization that they've been doing didn't take into account this kind of situation. It's external factors, unexpected. Suddenly, some people can't deliver. Okay, what happens? You still get all these suggestions, promoted products, and whatever, and suddenly you can't get them. So they tweaked the algorithm so that you will be more likely to see things that you can actually get, which is good. I mean, they're obsessed with the user experience. So I think as a marketer, you also need to look at, okay, there are things that are going down. There's a lot of things that are going down, or pausing, or unplugging. But then there are other places where there's increasing needs. So I think that's the first stage, to say, okay, what is still there? And then I think the next stage, once you've done that, and once you're like, well, okay, there isn't anything else that I can do with this. Like the example of, I've talked a lot about this, my wife's cafe in Paris, right? So we were there on a Saturday, and we were like staying for another hour because there are 5 people coming in, and we need to optimize the revenue. And then in the evening, on the way back home, we get this message saying, from tomorrow you're closed. Yeah, sort of government information saying now you cannot open your cafe anymore. You're like, wow, what? Then now what? What do we do? And you have all these things that go through your mind, and you go in and say, okay, first of all, what about I just open anyway? That's sort of that's the business person, isn't it? I always looking for opportunities, whatever. But when police are walking around and saying, you need to close down, you need to close down, you need to go, how come you're still here? Well, there isn't any choice. So at one point you're like, well, you're securing all you can. And then at some point you're like, well, there isn't anything else that I can do right now. So now I need to think about the future. Yeah. So in this kind of situation, like take the campaign perspective. If you're running campaigns on Facebook, whatever, maybe you were promoting your offers for a while. Well, maybe it's time to build your audience. Maybe you need more followers now. Maybe you can change your objectives. Okay, now I'll continue communicating, but now I just want to build my community around the cafe so that the day that I open again, I'm in a better shape. So there's a lot of sort of thinking about, okay, how can I be in a better shape? If you take it down to the personal level, I published this thing a few days ago that I passed the Amazon ads certification level 1, which is like, okay, cool. And that's a sort of, I have plenty of work actually as a freelancer, right? And it hasn't changed much compared to before because it's all online. But this is something that you can say, okay, I take this time where I can't do anything anyway, and rather than be frustrated and despair and discuss all the problems that we will have, and drink too many beers and that kind of deviation. Well, try to look at, okay, this is not going to last forever. So once we come out of this, how can I be in a better shape? So this can be physical shape. This can be do some more sports, mate. Yeah. It can be mental health. It can be, okay, I haven't had a break for ages. How can sit back, do some of the things you didn't do. Like I think people are saying, take some of your books and read them. Yeah. But also competences. And this is why I mentioned the certification. It's like, well, I've been doing this Amazon stuff for quite a while, but I'm not the hands-on guy. I'm the analyst. I'm a strategist, whatever. So I hadn't done the hands-on stuff. So I needed to spend half a day revising, and then you take the exam in the afternoon. Suddenly you have a certification. That's cool. Get in a better shape for once the market comes back, right? So I think there's a lot of things. So you can do the same. So sometimes in conferences, one of the first questions I ask to understand who's in the room is, okay, guys, everybody who's got the Google AdWords or Google Ads now certification, please raise your hands. So you got, I don't know, 50, 70, 80% of the room raising their hands because they have to have the certification. And then you ask the second question is, well, and how many of you guys have the Facebook certification? And you got like this little, little part here in the corner of pioneers who have it. Yeah. Now the next time I go on a conference, I'm going to ask, okay, who's got the Amazon certification? Yeah. Which is fun. And the last one I put in there is who's got the analytics, Google Analytics certification. It's like, well, these things are sometimes, depending on your profile, they will be more or less easy to do. But they can help you when you come out of a crisis to do something else, do something better. So those are my sort of immediate thoughts. Yeah.
There's interesting stuff that just comes to mind when you're talking about this. We spoke briefly yesterday, and there's a local store just kind of 2 minutes away from here called Joker, which is kind of 7-Eleven type of store. They sell all kinds of things, and they also I think they have a deal with the local post organization here in Norway, and they've never been so busy. And the guy told me that they are now changing the store to be able to take all the packages in because people are ordering home. And there was a news piece in Norway here where they were saying that every day was like Black Friday. It was just crazy. Another thing that comes to mind also is that how many in-house teams do you think have been sent home and forgot to turn off their AdWords campaigns and just the credit card is running? And like, there's a lot of things that come to mind where you kind of like, but I think this situation teaches you there's a lot of knowledge now about the infrastructure. For example, the streaming of the videos. Cisco is coming out with this data points about how the internet is holding up, how the streaming is holding up. YouTube took the streaming grade down, and all these things are kind of, they're challenging the infrastructure that we have, and we can see that, and also like online stores now. I mean, I see companies in Iceland that historically have never had an online store. They are scrambling, getting teams to kind of, what can we get up now? Like Shopify here, like boom, 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 connected to the register system and just get going, basically.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of interesting things happening from that point of view. If you're online,
it's a time for innovation, isn't it? It's you know, whenever you have constraints that you didn't expect, you have to innovate. So people will be forced to innovate, and there's a lot of pressure as well, because there's the economic pressure of, I saw the stats for how many new unemployment registrations they have in the US per week, and it has totally exploded, like 10 times what it used to be, and it's wild, and it's crazy. It's creating some kind, a bit of pressure as well on everybody, right? We have to do something, right? So yeah, at one point there just isn't anything else you can do than think about the future and figure out stuff. I agree with you. I think there's a lot of, I think Shopify is probably exploding. So it's funny because, the more traditional things that you would expect, Amazon, it's not that easy for Amazon to maintain the whole infrastructure. They depend on delivery. Delivery isn't stable at this time, depending on where you are. There's a lot of sort of infrastructure points that we've gotten used to infrastructure just being there and being optimized, and now suddenly, sometimes you can't trust it. So actually, I actually ordered 10 days ago. I told you this yesterday. I was going to the post office to pick up a new webcam. Yeah, and I went there after we talked together, and there was a line. There was a queue of like 20, 30 people standing in line at the post office, which is like crazy because, the post office in any country, they've been whining about, oh, people don't they don't send letters anymore. They don't send packages anymore. We're out of business. And then you come there and they're just totally overwhelmed with the business and not prepared for it. I gotta say, and so I actually stood there for 20 minutes or something, and I got in with my paper slip saying, "Here, I need this. You went by my house. I was there, but you didn't. You just let the paper slip and instead of getting through to me, which I'm really disappointed over. But now I'm here. I want to pick up my package." And say, "Yeah, oh, those ones. No, yeah, come back in 10 days because we've got." Kind of we've got a delivery issue. Yeah, also the post office has a delivery issue, so I can't get the stuff that I ordered online. So sometimes it's not where you expected things to actually work out that they will. I think there's going to be a lot of things happening. Also, people getting used to this, getting used to Zoom and to Skype and to whatever, getting used to working from home. I think this opens up for changing user behavior. In many, many different ways. We're going to be more digitally savvy. We're probably going to be more aware. Did you hear about Venice? The dolphins are back in the Venice canals because there's no traffic. So, and the water is clean. You can see the bottom, which is it hasn't happened. I don't know for how many centuries, I guess, because of all the tourism, which is very industrial. So we're rediscovering things that you couldn't see in the past. We've been on this growth wave of everything exploding, more performance, performance. We've been working in digital marketing for many years. There's this sort of whole performance mindset where suddenly you're like, well, okay, this is not about performance anymore. This is about looking at the long term and figuring out how are we going to be a stable business in the future. And that's interesting, and I think we got to take the positive sides of what's going on. We can't sit back and despair about this.
That is actually, I'm going to look into that. That's actually quite interesting. Another thing maybe that comes to mind. you and I both have several kids, is the social distancing, because kids are basically used to, they go to school, they have a routine, and I mean, I think you mentioned it yesterday that one of your kids basically said, "Dad, I miss going to school. Where are my friends?" And
I miss school when I go to school, which is crazy. So the first, so we actually, so one of these Amazon adventures was I had to buy a Chromebook, because even though I'm sort of a sort of first generation digital native, I feel very digital native, even though digital only came when I was a little bit older. But I didn't give my kids a computer each. They don't have, so we had house computers, right? Because we want to control, because we want to understand, we want to accompany them in their digital efforts. So my son, who's 10 years old, didn't have a computer, and my older son had the house computer because he was online for his courses. So suddenly we're stuck, and he needed to go in video conferencing with the school. So I went and bought a Chromebook online, and that one was delivered. So I'm really happy. So we got this Chromebook on board, and then suddenly you're like, okay, now I'm setting up, a Chromebook is cheaper than another computer. So I didn't need an office license. So everything cheaper, but then suddenly using only Google application. So, okay, set up a Gmail account for my son. How does that work when you're a parent and he's under 13? Well, it works. There are ways to do it. How do you teach them to be online? So they started having these courses for 1 hour, and then there was group work afterwards. So the first time this happened, there was 1 hour course, and then him and one of his classmates, they were on Skype for 2 hours, supposedly working on some kind of PowerPoint presentation. But I think most of it went into games and discussions, which is good fun. I mean, they live far away, so they don't meet so often. Now they suddenly found sort of a new way of communication. But he still wants to go back to school because he misses his friends, and I think we need that physical closeness as well. I mean, social distancing is very good for Corona, but at some point we're going to have to come back and meet again. Yeah.
So just to summarize up the answer to the question, then, is that the situation hasn't changed anything up to the point that you can still market, and there are still opportunities if you are in the right business.
Absolutely.
Not necessarily travel or hospitality. I'm sorry about your cafe.
Yeah.
There are opportunities for those who are savvy when it comes to selling online and being able to kind of open up different types of stores. And there are opportunities for us to learn a little bit, maybe take the vacation that we deserve, take a long Easter weekend or long Easter break from everything, and see how things come out on the other end, and maybe appreciate a little bit more what we have. The dolphin story is absolutely brilliant. I'm going to research that. That is absolutely a brilliant story.
Yeah.
So that would be the summary of this. That it just learn from it, take it in.
Yeah, and prepare for a better, for a better world once the coronavirus is retracting. Right? Improve ourselves, improve the ways we work. I think is.
Well, okay, I'm gonna then say this good enough. I know that you and I could probably spend. I was thinking about grabbing a bottle of red here and popping it up, and we could spend some time talking and then see where it goes. But thanks on this, and appreciate this a lot.